flow rivers of living water. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Out of my belly shall flow rivers of living water. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah, da, ba. Out of my belly shall flow rivers of living water. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll sing it one more time. Out of my belly.
Well, Shalom, it is not the Sabbath day, but we're here in the house with Brother Foday.
Yes, sir.
And you all know me, I need no introduction. And one of the things, that's been on my mind is our people. I think there's a scriptures in 2 Chronicles 7:14. It says, if my people who are called by my name should do X, Y, and Z, the Most High said he would do something for us. And this is where we are in society. You look at our people, and they look like they're in a mess. And one of the things I've always said is, in order for us to rise out of the situation we're in, we have to come together. And, that may be proven to be challenging, but I think it can be done. And Brother Foday, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you're dealing with our people, you're dealing with the people who've been through a lot. You're dealing with people who are dealing with an identity crisis, right? So you got to go back to the root of the problem. When you take a people from their homeland, bring them to another place, and put subjective laws on them where they can't do for themselves, right? And you subjugate them and oppress them for years and years and years, those root problems go back to those things that happened to our ancestors, our forefathers, right?
Right.
If you look at, other groups of people around the world who are isolated from being subjugated like we have.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And some of their cultural and moral values still stand. Even some of the cultural and moral values that we used to have 20 years ago here, they don't exist no more. People have lost their mind. But you're dealing with the people, the root problem is identity crisis. You understand? It's the identity crisis and the culture. The culture is being driven by media.
Right.
It's been driven by media for a long time. Right now we got social media, but before you had social media, you had what? Straight movies, television.
Yeah.
Right? Television, and the music industry.
Yeah.
So music is big in any culture, anywhere.
Yeah.
So if the message that you put out in the music is negative, and then we take those negative entities, right, and then we make them normal. Like, it's normal to talk about killing, rape, robbing, and murdering. It's normal to call yourself derogatory bywords as a name, as Nigga and Bitca. It's normalized to call that, even though it's a negative in its root and its origin, and you've turned it and made it a good thing. And that's one of the main problems that you have going on and with our people here, is that those are the things that we're dealing with.
Let me ask you this real quick. Is it the drug culture alone, or is it some other things that we can factor into it?
Well, the drug culture is being promoted, right? It's been promoted with the entertainment industry. It's been promoted like that for a long time. You understand what I'm saying? And really now, it's being promoted through music.
Right. Yeah.
It's being promoted through music. If your favorite artist is talking about popping opioids and get cool, and everybody want to go out and have a nice time and pop opioids and stuff like that, it's going to affect different people differently, but some people are going to get hooked on that stuff,
right,
and it's going to affect them. So when you talk about the drug culture goes along with what you see from in the entertainment industry right now. That's what you see. It's being pushed that way, right? So you go back to like the '80s, not in the early '90s, when you're dealing with drug culture, when you're dealing with gang culture.
Okay.
Like gang culture was real big.
That's a factor. That's a big factor too.
It's a big factor. When you're dealing with gang culture, and then the gangsters start selling drugs, and then people in the music who are gangsters or live in that type of what we call the streets, then you get what you call you get with this gang culture and drug culture, and they push it in through the music.
Right.
It's people who live in the suburbs, never lived in the ghetto. Their parents moved them away from that. But when they went to school with children from the ghetto who had to deal with that. And you got these kids who adopt that street culture, even though they wasn't raised like that, didn't grow up in a neighborhood that was ghetto, didn't have drugs and stuff in the neighborhood, wasn't no shoot. They had to deal with that. But when they go to school with the other kids, you're gonna get into what's cool. Why? It's in the music.
Why is it so attractive?
It's in the music. Think about you a kid. You go to school. You from the suburbs, and then they bust kids in from the ghetto. So the music that's popular in America, rap music, gangster rap music, having a party, have a nice time, and have all these things in it. And then you meet people who are mimicking or come from that cultural aspect of life, right? And that's cool. That's what's in. Some of these guys that come from that culture, they some of the best football players at the school, or he's the cool guy. All the girls want him because he got all the fancy clothes and stuff like that. But you come from a lifestyle, you might come from the same race, but you come from a lifestyle where you don't have to necessarily do that. But because it's cool, you will indulge in that. That's why when you look at Post Road on the Far East Side where I grew up, the crime right there was central to 42nd and 38th. Mid-Hartford, between Franklin, just a little square. Right? And you move on the other side of the street, or 30th Street, or you go down to 21st Street, down there. Back in the day, those weren't places that was considered the ghetto. That's places that you consider you moved there and you was doing something. You go over there right now, the culture that comes from that neighborhood on the Far East Side has influenced the whole thing. So you go to 21st and Mid-Hartford, 21st and Post now, and you go, especially on 21st and Mid-Hartford, you see things that have spread from that side of that area down. You understand what I'm saying? Because people move, and that's how culture spread. That's how it spread, but it starts with the children. It starts with the children. When the children are in school, when the children go to school, and you have them, you raise your children a certain way. You tell them, don't do this, don't do that, right? But you can't control the way that other people raise their children. Your children at the house saying, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, ma'am, no, sir. They go to school. You let them go to their friend's house. He see that him or she see that he don't do that with his parents. And then he come over your house. He like, why you say I ain't got to say that to my parents? And then the majority don't have that. Then they start bringing that disrespectful stuff into your house. You tell them don't sag their pants. But then when you catch them out walking one day, you see them with their friends sagging their pants. You understand what I'm saying? You told them don't get high. But when they go outside with their friends, they pure press like, man, this is what we do. You know what I'm saying? So then they start smoking weed. You understand what I'm saying? So it's they're going to be influenced by them more than you. And it starts, when you're dealing with a culture, everybody has to have the same principles. You understand what I'm saying? Then you raise up the children a certain way. But when you have those negative principles that everybody have accepted in the community, and it goes against what you stand for, what you raise your kids, when your kids come in contact with it, they're going to follow that because you're going to follow the stuff that's around your peers. For most times. So some things we can't control.
But you know, it's still the church, you know, I think there's a scripture in the Bible when Proverbs says, train a child the way he should go, and when he's older or when he matures, he will depart. You know, I seen a news article about a shooting downtown, a couple blocks away from the police station. It was like 7 kids got shot. The youngest was 12. And, you know, then they start talking about, you know, they're going to start going after the parents, arresting the parents, you know. Think about what it means, you know, if you remove the parent out of the home and lock the child up, you know, draw us a correlation of what's going on with that type of behavior. I mean, we've always had a curfew. You know, we had to be home when the lights got on. You know, WTLC say, parents, it's 11 o'clock, you know, where your children are. You know, and some parents are one-parent homes, and then you have, you know, their father in there that ain't going for it. A couple of years ago, Remember the guy that went to a house party, tried to sneak back in? He knew he was going to get in trouble, but he ended up shooting his whole family. You know, what is all that about, and what can we do about this, you know, as a whole, as a community?
Well, like what I've been saying, if you want the community to change, you got to change the culture on how the community operates. And we're at a point now where it's too far gone. Like, it's already established that
right.
This is the culture, this is the life, this is the way, this is the norm. The only way to change it is people would separate themselves who really understand what I'm saying and what we're talking about here, and they would separate themselves and they would move somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? Like, even if you move somewhere and then you're able to implement things on youth. The people our age and the children now who are a certain age, they are already contaminated.
They're impressed. Children are impressionable. But is there any coming back from this? Or is this something we just got to accept? This is the way it is and there's no going back from it.
So when you see what's happening in Black America or in America in general, you know, there was dramatic things that happened to get people, or events that happened to get people to establish or start living a certain lifestyle. So dramatic things had to happen for those changes to happen. For example, if if you had one village fighting against another, or one people fighting against another, they would go to war with these people, establish themselves as a hierarchy, and most of the time, the other people get assimilated or oppressed, right? So with that changed how those people previously were dealing with themselves in society. Now they have to adjust to dealing with themselves from being oppressed or being assimilated or have to not being able to do the things that they wanted to do. So the reason I'm bringing this up to show you that that's a dramatic thing that happened. It happened to us here. So imagine when you have drugs that enter the neighborhood where it wasn't before, right? Imagine when you have gang culture becoming popular, right? And from the drugs and the gang culture, all our brothers being put behind bars. These are dramatic events that are happening.
Trauma.
So you got to give praise to the people who are here trying to fight against that, been fighting against all those traumas and those dramatic things that have been happening to us over time. So can it change? There's a percentile that it can. Will it change? There's a percentile that it will. But there's also a percentile that it won't. It might turn for the worse. So, it's these dramatic instances. So, like, it's these dramatic situations that have to happen in order for the change to take place. Because a lot of our people, they are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? Don't understand the simple things. But they can rap you a song, that's talking about murdering, killing, and stuff like that, you know. And it's the normal because it's accepted. If the society accepts it, then it's a normal. So whatever you telling them is outside of society, you're weird and you ain't like everybody else. And by the time they understand this, they've been through certain individual traumatic instances in their life, right, to understand that. And now their children have to be raised up with the same situation.
Yeah, I was thinking about, it's also how you see the young people in this culture. What I mean by that is, they have qualities that if they are used and trained in the right way, it could be turned against the enemy. I see a lot of these young men who are just undisciplined, misguided. But if you see them and you get a hold of if you snatch a few out of them, you're not gonna get everybody, but you just want to speak to them to the place where they, first of all, they feel wanted and accepted. And what I've learned is you have to sometimes isolate them and speak to them away from the other guys. I did one of the things I did a volunteer for, it was boys clubs and the other group. And one thing I've learned is when I went into the schools, and what I say was you had 90% white teachers and 90% black students. And you had 10% black teachers. And I believe we have to, change it around to a certain degree. And what I mean by that is, everybody doesn't know how to teach our children. And I know it starts at home, but your children live in a two-parent home, but everybody, my children live in two-parent, but every child doesn't have that opportunity. And that's something we have to address and consider and factor into. Children, they're running loose. They're going buck wild. So, I think, we come to a place where we see this, but we have to see it in the right perspective. Because I'm telling you, Rob, it doesn't look good, Brother Foday. It doesn't look good. But you can't go by how it looks. You have to see the better. You have to see the good in, your people. You have to see the good in you. And I know they want to emulate the gang bangers. Everybody want to be tough, But there's a small percentage that are very smart and very highly intelligent. And I think we as a people without proper leadership is one of the biggest problems. Who are our leaders? You go back to the '60s, we had leaders. Even though they murdered them, but you had some type of leadership. I think before anything changes, we have to have some leaders, who really care about the people and who won't, do what's best for themselves. And as we sit and talking right now, where are the children at? What are they doing right now? Are they unsupervised? Because that young man that got shot downtown was 12 years old, and this is at 11 o'clock at night. What is a 12-year-old being out there like? So you as a parent,
My 12-year-old son ain't gonna be out there till 12 o'clock at night.
there you go.
But you got, like I've been saying here, you have a cultural expression going on out here that has a different law of discipline and what children are allowed to do than what I accept for my household, or maybe what you accept for your household. And then you come from a generation where there was stability.
Yep.
Boundaries. Those have changed now. So, we don't never know that young man's situation with his parents, right? Or somebody might have been there at work, or he might have snuck it. We don't know, right? We don't know the situation, right? But, culture is what promotes this, because, the leaders, you talked about leadership, like what the leaders is out there, they're just leading people astray.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the leaders is there, but somebody who was old enough, even somebody that was 4 years older than that little boy, should have told him he should be in the house. You understand what I'm saying? Or we don't know what the situation was, what he was into, anything like that. Situations happen, and we don't know, why. But if we look at what's going on here, man, it's crazy.
It is crazy, when you think you get tired of you think you've heard it all, and then you hear the news, and it's like, wow. But I'm a person, I have to speak, to what I believe. I never speak, what I see, and we can't be tempted to speak what we see, and just say there's no hope. There's always hope, So we have to continue to keep talking and having conversations with our children. We have to keep praying for our children. We have to keep believing for our children. And we have to know that the Most High is going to, keep His promises in His Word when we look to Him and say, hey, this is my child. So here's the thing. There's a recipe to everything. You're a successful parent. You know what time it is in this area. What you say is law. Ain't no back talking, ain't none this and that. Ain't nothing going to ask your mama. It's law. And, we're going to be praying that the Most High will raise up more fathers like ourselves, who understand the dynamics of the family. Now, one of the things, we see in our culture, the marriage, people getting married, percentage is going down. It's declining, Speak to that.
Well, it's the culture. Everything is culture.
Everything's a culture.
Everything is the culture. Look at where the culture is rooted in right now. Does it promote marriage?
Right. Nope.
Does it promote marriage? No, it's promoting, my girl got a girlfriend. You understand what I'm saying?
My girl got a girlfriend.
My girl got a girlfriend. And that was years ago when it started, but it promotes that. My girl got a girlfriend. I got 2, 3 women I'm not married to. It's like, you understand the culture. Now, there are people getting married. There are people looking to do that, but it's I'm not saying it's shunned, but there are people who shun it in the community who say that it's not for them.
Right.
That, they don't want to be locked down or tied down to one woman or anything like that, and that's, it's all about the culture.
And the children that comes out of relationships, they have very few a chance to survive because of the culture. But sadly to say, this is where we are. We find ourselves in another year, 2024, and murders up, robberies up, unemployment's down. So, people feel like they have to make a living. They got to go out here and sell drugs, and rob people. And like you said, it's the culture. But what we have to do is we have to continue to speak those things so they'll be not seen no matter what we see. We have to call on the name of the Most High and, be ready to listen to His instruction. I would speak to, I would like to speak to the single mothers out there, even the single fathers out there. The struggle is real. Bringing your children up, in a environment where, they can have the better things of life, even though it looks bleak, we can't worry about what it looks like, Brother Fode, any closing thoughts, any thoughts, you'd like to share?
Well, I appreciate you for bringing me out here to have this discussion. I feel it's a discussion that we can bring more brothers and sisters together. Just have an open discussion about the things that are going on in the community. Mm-hmm. That's a start. Because once you might say something that triggers, right, somebody to change. I might say something that triggers somebody to change. And none of us are perfect. We all have our own problems and issues, and we don't fall short to the judgment that other men have gone through. When other men and women fall, we fall no less or no short than they fall.
Yep. Right,
because we have our own issues, we have our own individual problems, and we have the right to analyze what's going on in our community, even though we have issues or whatever, because these issues affect us.
Yes, they do affect us.
And so I appreciate you for bringing me out here to have this conversation, and maybe most sure it won't be the last.
Well, I really appreciate for Family and Gossip Family you listening in today. And I hope what Minister Fodes said was encouraging, especially about our youth. And there's a scripture in the Bible, I don't have it right now, but I'll find it for you and put it in the comment section. But it says, in our captivity, we will remember our God. Paraphrase, we'll come to our senses. We're not in our land. We're not in our land. We find ourselves in a foreign land full of blood, murders, raving wolves. And we find our people are being destroyed from lack of knowledge. And one of the things, that impressed me about this brother is that he's in touch with his African heritage. And I'm not telling you to do this yourself, but pray about it. At some point, we have to leave here. Get your visa, get your passport, get your yellow fever shot, and there may be one other shot. It escapes my mind, but don't take the COVID vaccine shot or any boosters. Don't even take any flu shots. But get yourself a plan, sit down with your family, and y'all plan to get out of Babylon according to Revelation 18, verse 4. It says, flee Babylon so you won't partake in her sins. Babylon is going to be destroyed. If you're still here, by 2025 and 2026, it'll be too late to get out. Make plans. Don't delay. Do it today. Shabbat Shalom.